1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. Hello, internet world. I just cut my bangs today, so I'll be damned if I don't show them off. Okay. These bangs don't want to go. Whatever. Anyway, it's been so fucking long since I made a YouTube video. Yeah, I'm still on the phone. I could probably technically use my computer, but it's still broken, so whatever. Anyways, okay. I fell off of the YouTube video making game, but now I'm alone in the house. There's no one around here to hear me except for, all the hidden cameras and microphones that record all citizens of the country and the first world or what have you. So, I need something comfortable, but that's still, yeah, okay. Okay, so welcome in the new year. Okay, I didn't have inspiration to make any fucking videos, and I fell off, but I decided to make this video because you ever have something that you enjoy, but you're just like, who can I share this with? Nobody, basically, except myself. Nobody you know will be into this shit the way you're into it. So, God, I look so ugly in the camera. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, so basically, in between my last video and now, I got into this YouTube channel, these two YouTube channels called 13 O'Clock and Scare Salon, which is run by the same person. And basically on there, the lady who runs the channels mentioned that there was a remake of the show Night Stalker, the 70s show, and it was remade in 2005. And it had Stuart Townsend playing the main guy. And I was like, I couldn't believe that when I heard it. I'm like, that's like putting Oreos on a pizza or something. Like something where you're like, okay, I know it's not gonna technically work, but it could be really fun and I just gotta check it out, So I went to go check it out and yeah, very trashy, very fun. I think it's ironic how on the YouTube channel and also my dad saying, like, the irony is that, like, I guess, the original Night Stalker show, like, inspired the X-Files, but now this remake show is trying to be the X-Files, so it's kind of like a copy of a copy, or whatever. So basically, all I want to do is recap this shit. I watched episode 1 with my dad, and my dad fucking hated it, of course. So I can't really be like, look, listen to this funny ass shit I watched and tell him all about it, because he won't listen. He fucking has written this shit off as terrible. And my mom doesn't give a fuck, and I don't have any friends. So, oh my God. Can you see this? This cat's trying to get inside here. And if I open up my robe, you're gonna see my flat boobs, which is still legal. Can you see that? Did I flash boob? No? Alright, go inside, kitty, if that's what you want so bad. It's like a reverse birth. Anyway, yeah, I just want to recap these shows and talk about them because they're so fun. Anyway, okay. Basically, I watched all of them except, it's episodes 1 through 10. And I watched them all except for the 10th one. So maybe I'll do a separate video on that. But I just had to cut it off at a certain point because there's too much binge watching. I did go outside, but it's storming in California right now. So, perfect day to stay inside and just rot your brain, right? So, okay. See if I can remember all the shit that happened. I can't believe it's almost 5 minutes. Time just slips away, huh? Anyways, okay. So, episode number 1. Episode number 1 sets up the whole damn show. Everybody meets each other. Your main characters are Kolchak, um, what's her face? Perry, I think is the girl's name. And you know from the start, it's like, we don't like each other. You're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend, basically instantly. And then they have a little sidekick, little brother, who looks like Mark Zuckerberg a little bit. And then there's the boss, and they all go through this rigmarole bullshit. Basically, the whole purpose of the first episode is that there's like some big ass monster that is going after pregnant ladies. And then, like, how does this shit go? I want to speed through this shit, but you know it's gonna take me like a fucking hour. Yeah, there's some monster taking pregnant ladies. And then, but for some reason there's an inconsistency where they took a girl who was like 10. That's like fucking George Carlin's joke about like, I think abortion should be allowed up to like 8 years past birth or something, whatever he said, you know? But yeah, there's like a full grown ass girl, not even a toddler or anything, like a full ass, like elementary school age girl who gets kidnapped. And at the end, there's this ridiculous ass fucking scene where she's in a cave, and she's been in this cave on this little tiny ass ledge, probably for like 4 days or something, like starving, probably peeing all over her little night shirt and everything, stuffed in this little fucking corner on this tiny ledge. And it looks like some shit from like Land Before Time or something, and there's this like giant endless like pit, like this big huge gap, like this abyss in the center of the cave. And Kolchak is on, I wish I had another name for him, because I don't like calling him Kolchak, because I just feel like it's fake, you know, because I'm a fan of the old show, you know, and doesn't feel right. But anyways, he's on the other side, and literally, like, there's like this much lip, like between him and the edge of this fucking pit. And the girl's on the other side, and she's like 6 feet up from him or something. And he's on this tiny little windowsill being like, jump into my arms. And it's just like, oh my god, this impossible ass jump. Like, this girl jumps right into his arms, and he had like there was no leverage for him to do that, okay? Like, I don't know. It looked ridiculous to me. But anyway, yeah, for some reason she got taken by this monster. And they never explain it. Then there's this one scene in the parking lot where the main character group's car hit like a hairless werewolf, it looks like. Or like a skinless werewolf, some shit like that. And then they go into this whole, well, I'm just saying it out of order. But basically, Kolchak comes under suspicion where he has this fucking story where his boss, I think it was his boss, is like, basically building up this big fucking story about how much Kolchak was like obsessed with his wife and how much he fucking loved her because he was chasing some big story about some damn mobsters or something. And then the FBI caught him, and then the whole thing went to trial. And Kolchak was gonna be awarded some fucking prize or some shit like that, I don't remember, and they were gonna have a big fucking party for him. But he didn't show up at the last second because his wife had the flu, or some bullshit. So, the boss is like building up this big story, like, you can tell how much he was obsessed with her and how much he fucking loved her. Because everyone is accusing him of murdering her. But really it's because they were on the road one night and a big fucking claw came through the windshield and took her out, and then aborted the baby that she was gonna have. And everybody blamed Kolchak for that shit. And then he dedicates the rest of his existence in the show to finding the killer, which is of a supernatural origin. And then, there's also some bullshit about, like, a little, like, Illuminati-looking snake mark that goes on your wrist, which he calls a birthmark, but it looks like a burn or like a brand because it's like raised. And anyway, whatever. So that's episode 1. Episode 2 was the best episode by far. Episode 2 is the one I would really want to be able to tell people about, like, oh my god, check out this shit I watched. You won't believe the ending, blah, blah, blah. But nobody wants to fucking hear it. So, anyways, basically, yeah, this episode is head and shoulders above all the other episodes. I mean, like I said, I haven't watched the last one, but this was just the most best story with the best ending. So basically, in the beginning, there's this baseball game, and this dude is like, I guess his son is doing badly in the Little League game or something, so his wife is like, oh, I don't want to watch, which I found very unsupportive, but whatever. And then she's like, I'm going to go sell lemonade, so I don't have to suffer through watching our son lose. And then the grandfather is sitting there, and he's like being all chummy with the dad. And then, but then some creepy shit happens at the end where the grandfather starts acting creepy. So right away, you know he's a fucking ghost. And then the dad gets up and grabs a baseball, a fucking bat, a baseball bat, and he goes and kills his wife with it. And they intercut him killing his wife with the kid, like, hitting the ball and running around the bases and shit. And the editing in this show gets really creative at times. They try to do a lot of parallelism, which I think is funny. But anyways, so yeah, then he gets taken to jail, and they're like, why'd you do it? And he's like, oh, it just felt right in the moment, and yeah, I know, like, my dad is dead, but in the moment it just seemed right. And then somehow that leads them to, like, this fucking guy in jail who was, like, a cult leader, I guess. And he has, like, a telekinetic, or what is that, telepathic powers, I guess, where he can, like, get inside other people's heads if he's in the vicinity where you are. He can read your mind. And then basically he sends you, like, a, like, created ghost that he's sending with his mental powers, and it's always somebody who you miss, and then you won't feel weird about it. You won't be like, hey, weren't you dead? You'll just accept it, because that's part of his powers over people. And he's in solitary confinement because the guards say everybody else in the fucking jail hates his ass, and everybody wants him dead. But it's also a double, like, whammy, I guess, because he's not supposed to he's not supposed to be around other people because that allows him to read their mind and do his little shit on them, So basically by isolating him, they're trying to, like, take away some of his powers or whatever. But yeah, every time he comes into contact with somebody, he fucks them up. By, he sends them, it's the same shit what happened with the first guy. Like, he sends them a ghost of somebody who they love, and then that ghost tells them, like, they always say the same tagline, which is, you know what you have to do, and then that means that they, like, Manchurian Candidate, go into kill mode and kill somebody who's living who they love, so that it fucks up their whole life, and they go to jail or whatever. And they also lose that person, obviously. So, anyways, then, what happens after that? Right, so basically, it's kind of similar to in The Dark Knight, where, everyone's being bumped off, like the judge, the DA, other people that are involved in the court system, and stuff like that. He's bumping up off all these different people. That's the majority of the episode. And then, but at the end, like, this is the part that's so good. Okay, near the end, basically, girlfriend was trying to avoid, because her and Kolchak were supposed to go see this guy in jail, but at the last second, she said she didn't want to go in the room with him because she was worried about him reading her mind and doing all that shit to her, even though she's supposedly the skeptic in the situation, but, she's not really a skeptic. It's kind of like one of these stupid little sex games that she's playing with Kolchak, where they always oppose each other, but then in reality they're in love, or whatever fucking bullshit. So then she doesn't want to go in the room to talk to him, but near the end, the guy says, I'm going to keep killing until you take my little manifesto and put it in the newspaper. So both of them go in the room with him, but then he grabs her hand, and then that allows him to read her mind, I guess. So then everybody's worried that she's going to become Manchurian Candidate next and kill somebody. And everyone's like, who's it going to be? Who's she going to kill and stuff? So then, because this is taking place made and taking place in 2005, and the attitude towards pharmaceutical drugs back then is that they solve all problems and were being pushed heavily, which it's so funny because it's like, obviously today people still are like very much in love with their like pharmaceutical drugs, but I just feel like maybe because of the opioid crisis, people kind of stopped putting such an angelic halo around them or something. Because like basically what happens is that Kolchak goes to her and he's like, you gotta take sleeping pills, you gotta like take drugs, and she's like saying no over and over again, and he's like really pushing it. And then it just brought me back to like being in middle school and high school. Oh my god, what are you guys doing? It just brought me back to that time when it's like, oh yeah, I remember those days of like emo rock and everything was drugs all the time. Drugs, this and drugs, that, you know. What an innocent time to grow up, you know, all that shit. But yeah, it's like, I just feel like you don't hear that as much these days. Maybe it's just taken for granted, or like I said, it probably has something to do with the opioid crisis, like people just not putting, yeah, whatever, I said what I needed to say. So anyways, that just brought me back a little bit, but essentially, he uses his fox charm to come home with her, which is weird because this is only the second episode. But yeah, he goes home with her and he's like, oh, don't worry about it, just take these sleeping pills, and then while you're sleeping, I'm just gonna like stand here and watch you as you sleep all night, supposedly. So maybe he's on meth or something if he's gonna stay up all night. But basically, it was all a fucking trick, because as soon as she goes to sleep, he gets a knock on the door, doesn't even look through the peephole, just opens it up. It could have been fucking the Zodiac killer on the other side of that door. But no, he just opens it up, and then it's his wife on the other side of the door, of course. And so then at the same time, Zuckerberg and some other people are like, they realize like, oh shit, actually, the guy never had a manifesto, and he wasn't trying to read girlfriend's mind, he was reading Kolchak's mind the whole time. So he was really fucking with him, and he was just playing everybody else. And, like, yeah, so after he had killed all the people that were involved in, like, putting him in jail, I guess, or whatever, he sends Kolchak's wife to him, and then she gives him the whole, you know what you gotta do, shit. And then he picks up a knife, and he's about to stab, girlfriend. Oh my god, I left out a part. They were saying that she only had to make it through the night because, that the psychic guy, who, you know, the cult leader guy, he was gonna be transferred to a different state in the morning, I guess, or whatever. And then they're thinking like, oh, he has to be within certain proximity to people to control them, so, like, it'll be okay when he gets moved out of state. But then I think Zuckerberg calls the jail or something, trying to warn them that, like, oh no, he's really trying to mind control Kolchak. And then the people at the jail are like, oh, don't worry about it, we actually decided to transfer him tonight instead of tomorrow. So it's like a matter of minutes, I guess, because they're, of course, Kolchak takes his sweet-ass time, dragging his heels with this knife over to the bed and stands over her with the knife for so long, dragging it out. But basically, this is the part that was so good, was that they take, you know, they put the chains on this guy, and they're, oh, because he's also blind, but that doesn't really factor into it. But yeah, they're leading this guy through the jail, and you think they're, you know, taking him outside some truck or something like they said, but they just take him to the middle of the prison, and then like everybody's in this like group room, and then you realize like the guards just leave him in there like with everybody, and then they just leave. They're like, see ya, we hated you anyway, we always wanted to do this to you. And then all the other prisoners come around him and shake him to death. and that's what breaks his spell. So, yeah, that was great. That was definitely the best episode. At the end, I was like, oh shit. That was so great. None of the other episodes even compare. All the other episodes are like, kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, who wrote this bullshit, you know? But anyways, okay. So, what happens in the next one? The next one is the third episode, and it's called 3. So that makes it easy to remember. And that episode starts off with a little bit of racism, because it's like this girl, this like very like whitey white girl, who's just wearing like this little dainty short dress and these little dainty shoes and like this little like sweater dress thing that's open in the front. And she's on the bus, and every single episode starts off with Kolchak giving some damn like little monologue about fear and the theme, whatever the theme of the episode is going to be, but it's always something with fear included in there. And anyways, he's talking about people being afraid of this and that, and then she's on the bus, and there's like some black people on the bus, and she's all like, oh my god, black people. And then I was like, oh, a little bit of racism, huh? And then directly after that, she like gets off the bus, and she's like walking up to this old decrepit like haunted like condemned house, and like these 2 Hispanic guys go cruising by in their car, and they're, you know, like playing their tunes and everything, and then she's like, oh my god, like Hispanics, you know. And I'm like, okay. So I thought maybe the first time could have been like maybe like an accident or just a little bit of stereotyping, but I'm like, oh no, they're going for like the straight racism angle. And then after that is like, you know, these 2 like white preppy boys who kind of look like those dudes that beat up the Joker in like, you know, the 2019 Joker movie. They show up behind her, and she's all like, hi guys, like she knows them. And then a very next scene, it just cuts to them like drowning her in like a bucket in the house. And then basically the entire rest of the episode is kind of like fear.com a little bit, where basically it's like this damn like fraternity or whatever that are involved in like dark arts, and like I think they're supposed to probably be based on like the Skull and Bones or whatever, like something like that, you know, like some like creepy like shit for rich people, you know, one of those like, but you know those like college frats that are like, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, it's playing off that, and blah blah blah. The whole episode is just like this big detective hunt leading up to like the realization that everybody has like this like spell put on them, kind of, where they all die based on their worst fear. So the girl's worst fear is drowning, so she drowns in this shower that just fills itself up, even though there's like a window that has like, you know, it's like boarded up, but there's like openings between the boards, you know, that where the water could have drained out, but apparently it was witchcraft or whatever. So she drowns, and then this dude, he's like just walking on the sidewalk, but then all of a sudden he like walks off the side of a building, and he tries to save himself, but then his body kind of turns itself around against his will, and he falls. And then, because his fear was heights. So, you know, in fear.com, it's like their fear will come at them even if it makes no fucking sense, like no physical sense. They'll kind of just go into like a pocket dimension of like their fear, and it kills them. It's the same shit in this. So, yeah, and then at the end, they realize that like the haunted house is haunted because this fucking like, it's kind of like The Shining. This dude killed his whole family with an axe, but then he had 3 kids, and one of them got away. So, like, then you know immediately, like, one of these frat boys is that kid, because why else? And then, yeah, and then they say his worst fear was going back to that house. So that's why, he was there. And then at the end, Kolchak just takes a can of gasoline and sets a whole house on fire, which is in a neighborhood and everything. Like, oh my god. If that was here in and they are in California. They're in LA. I almost forgot about that. But, oh my god. People would be so pissed. I know this is 2005. Maybe they didn't have the drought back then. But, oh my god, after these fucking wildfires we've had, you can't just go setting a damn house on fire, like, just willy-nilly. Like, just committing arson. And what if it spreads to a neighbor? I mean, I know in the show they kind of depicted the house as being, like, set apart from all the other houses. It's kind of just in this little overgrown area. But, whatever. Anyways, and then, what else? There was some other part to it. Oh, because they said that the littlest, two brothers got away from the dad, but the littlest brother died of fright when they were hiding in a cabinet. And his fear, like, manifested as black magic in the house, which caused everybody else's fear to come to life, which is this is a plus I have for the show. Even though the show is total trash, and most of the episodes make no fucking sense, like, you have to just kind of be like, okay. Like, you have to just be like that to most of the episodes. At least they're creative, because they'll take, like, these, like, standard generic, like, supernatural things, but put, like, a weird twist on it. It's like one step up from, like, so weird, basically. Like, they put a little more extra twist on it, so it's like, oh, it's not just a ghost, it's like a, like, I don't know, like an echo of fear that's, like, reverberates in this house for, like, beyond the realm of time, or some fucking bullshit. Anyways, that's number 3. Number 4, oh my god, can I even remember? Number 4, oh, I think number 4 was the demon one. So number 4, like, there's this kid, and he's being picked on in school, this little Macaulay Culkin looking kid, and he also kind of looks like a baby, like a feminine baby version of Christopher Walken a little bit, and he has really, really nice eyelashes, which is weird to say about, like, a kid, but whatever. So, whatever. This kid is being picked on in school. It's Halloween, because everybody's wearing costumes, and this kid is carving into a tree, and the tree is bleeding, which nobody questions. Nobody thinks that's weird. And it kind of reminded me of this episode of, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark, where there's, like, a symbol that's, like, partially carved into a cliff or something, like a rock or something. And everyone's scared of that symbol, but in the end it turned out that it was actually a symbol of love, because it was the top half of a bird. Like, it was just this weird symbol, but people didn't realize it was supposed to be, like, the top half of a dove, which symbolized the love between these two teenagers. But then the dude, I think, who was carving it, died midway because he fell or something, and so he just never could complete the dove. So it was like a tragic love story. But anyways, the kid writes, like, M-A-I, but it's actually supposed to be M-A-L, and because he's spelling, like, Malik or something, which obviously Mal is bad, and that's the name of this demon that is, like, possessing. So, basically, these kids are picking on him. The vice principal, I think they said, comes up, and he makes all the bullies go away. But then the kid's dad, who I recognized from something, but I can't put my finger on it, comes up, and he, like, threatens the teacher. He's like, you're gonna suffer for taking my kid's knife away. And this guy, before he even says anything, like, the vice principal seems automatically, like, scared of him. Like, everybody seems, like, scared of this motherfucker. And then blah, blah, blah. The whole entire episode was, like, this investigation of, like, oh, is the kid being abused, and la, 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 and, like, he keeps saying, like, to his best friend, like, I want to live with you because your family is nice and normal. And then, and this episode has Tony Todd in it. I was like, wow. And he's just, like, he has that whispery, pervy voice, and he's just, like, perving on these two guys. He's perving on Kolchak, and he's perving on this other cop. because the whole entire episode is like a flashback, I guess. Like, it cuts between like the flash forward, which is the two of them in the police station getting in trouble, and then the flashbacks, which is like the whole meat of the episode, you know? And so, like, yeah, basically the whole deal is that, like, everyone thinks this kid's being abused at home because he's sad all the time, and he's just like this little sad, like, I'm just a helpless little kid, you know? But then they find out that, like, the dad is an adoptive dad, and he used to be totally off the books. He used to be a priest, and then he tried to exorcise a demon from this lady, and then the demon went into him. But then he also got blamed for her death because she died of not having food or water, which I guess they assume he didn't give her any, but maybe the demon just wouldn't consume anything or whatever, you know? Whose fault is it? And then basically Kolchak goes to this cop, like the best friend of the little Macaulay Culkin looking kid. The friend's dad is a cop. So Kolchak goes to him and he's like, you better keep your eye on this, like, scary dad, because everybody thinks he's fucked up and everybody thinks he's abusing his kid, and he might fuck up your kid too, or something like that. Then basically the two little boys are playing, and then the cop's kid gets taken. And then the cop is, like, out for blood, obviously. So essentially through the course of this, they realize that the demon didn't actually go... Oh, because I forgot to say the little Macaulay Culkin kid was the kid of the lady that was possessed by the demon, Malik. And the other really funny thing about this episode is that they keep having product placement for Happy Tree Friends. Like, they go into this old nasty house where they used to live. It's all messy and shit, and nobody's cleaned it up even though they moved out. And they have, like, a sticker for Happy Tree Friends in there, and then later on the kid's watching that on TV, which I thought was so fucking funny and such a product of the day. Cry. Anyway, where was I? Right, so anyways, the gist of it is that the demon didn't actually go into the creepy dad. The creepy dad is actually creepy because he's being terrorized by the kid, who's the real demon. Or the demon went into him, whatever. And then, like, he sets up this whole entire situation where the cop's kid is tied up in this very weird rapey position in a car, but he's, like, in the driver's seat backwards, and his face is, like, against the, like, headrest of the driver's seat, and his hands are, like, behind him, like, tied to the wheel, which I imagine is probably something that has happened in real life, but it looked fucked. Anyways, so, yeah, it turns out the little creepy boy is keeping him in this car, and then he sets up this whole scenario where he brings his dad out there, and then he makes the cop come out there at the same time so that the cop will see this at the exact precise right moment to think that the guy is guilty, and he shoots him, and then he adopts the little scary boy, and then the little scary boy, at the end it turns into this whole fucking contrived shit. And the other funny thing about this show is that, like, there's so many times throughout all the episodes where you can tell, like, they probably meant to film something, like, show, not tell, but they either ran out of time or money or whatever, just couldn't do it for some reason, and so they just have people explain, like, oh yeah, and then this is what happened, like they don't show it, they just have somebody say, like they'll show the storyline up to a certain point, and then, like, in this instance, right, like, you see the whole thing about the cop, like, shooting, like, the other dad, the scary dad, who was whatever, who wasn't really scary, I guess, and then at the end, he's, like, in the police station, and he's, like, and so you see, after that, then I realized the little kid was evil, and that he had it out for my son. So then, I took the kid's own knife, and I, like, grabbed him, and I slit his throat with the knife, and he, like, explains this whole thing. in very poetic detail. He like, you just have to see it. Like, he doesn't just say like, yeah, I killed him. He's like, I grabbed him and I put him on the ground and I was like holding him as he struggled and I slit his throat and the blood came pouring out. It was like very poetic like that, like the way he described it. Like, I feel like people wouldn't really talk like that in that situation. Like, he wouldn't give that much like colorful detail, you know? You would just say, okay, I killed him, or okay, I cut his throat, you know? Like, anyways, whatever. So then Tony Todd, in his like very whispery, like seductive voice, just telling this guy, like, just basically like very, very like minimalistically, like with minimalistic effort, trying to gaslight him, being like, actually, this picture, this wasn't what the kid drew. This is what Kolchak drew, and he's just setting everybody up, and you have to just pin the whole story on him. I don't even know if he's really trying to convince him of that, or if he's just basically telling him, like, look, you and me both know this story is fake, but, like, this is the story you're supposed to tell in court, so that we can both blame Kolchak, because he doesn't like Kolchak for some reason. He wants him to go to jail instead, I guess. But then the cop says, like, no, I'm taking the blame, it's fine. But then at the end, they describe, like, this, they put, like, a extra 3, like, twists on it that were totally unnecessary, where, like, they try to play this little game of demon hot potato, where it's basically, like, oh, and then I guess the demon, like, jumped out of the kid and went into him, and that's what possessed him to slit the kid's throat. But then after that, the demon, but then because he left the body for his son to find, that implies that the demon then jumped into his son, and whatever. They imply all that shit. They don't state it outright, but yeah. Anyways, what was that? Episode 4, I think? So then episode 5 and 6, I think, are, I don't remember if it was 5 and 6 or 6 and 7. But this is where, like, this takes, like, this fucking left turn. And they try to have, like, they have a whole other fucking story, like, within this show. I feel like I'm skipping an episode. I feel like there was another one that I'm totally forgetting about. But whatever. I want to hurry up, because I'm sick of making this video already. But oh my god, it was just made no sense. Okay, they had this episode, this 2-parter, and it was basically like, there's like this drug deal. This guy goes into this gangster's house, this fancy house, and he gives him this whole shitload of money. And then he's like telling him, like, oh, you gotta just forget I'm here. Like, this money is to pay you off to just forget I'm here. Like, forget about me and don't pursue me again or whatever. And then they're about to kill him, and they're just, like, about to take the money and not do shit that he wants for him. But then I guess bikers show up and gun down everybody. And this is so funny, because this entire 2-parter is, like, it's just like, you know when you're watching a show and then somebody obviously wanted to make a movie and they just kind of stuck it into the show whether it fits or not. And this is like this action movie where they have these long, extended, like, gun shooting sequences where it's just like slow motion, like bullets flying everywhere for so long, and like all this shit being destroyed, and just like, it's just like, damn, am I watching like Machete now or something like that? Anyways, so these, but it was very entertaining, and the music, oh my god, the music was so perfect. But yeah, so these guys show up, they're bikers, I guess, and they shoot up everything. They shoot the main dude who brought the money, but he doesn't die. He like runs off, and then Kolchak comes in and he starts checking everybody's hands for that little Illuminati snake symbol thing. And then, oh my god, so much happens in these 2 episodes. I just can't even. But like, but basically, the guy, he turns out to be a DEA agent, I guess, and he runs away, and then he's like bleeding everywhere, and he runs into this like store in Koreatown in LA, and this lady finds him, and she like instantly is in love with him. And, like, you can tell, but they confirm it later on. And, like, she brings a friend, like, oh my god. She brings over this friend, they bandage the dude up, and then when he's, like, kind of, like, passed out. And then when he finally wakes up, he's, like, very grateful. He's like, oh, thanks for saving my life. I just want to, like, help you out around here, blah, blah, blah. And then they have this stupid scene where she's, like, wrapping gauze, because he's shot, like, right here on the side. She's, like, wrapping gauze around, like, his whole body. But every time she, like, does a wrap around his back, she, like, leans in really close like this. And it's just so fucking lame. Like, and it becomes this big soap, like, I swear to God, it becomes this Korean soap opera where they just have these long scenes of them, like, being in love that have nothing to do with Kolchak, the girlfriend, or Zuckerberg. And I know I shouldn't call her girlfriend. That's very disrespectful, but whatever. And then at the same time, this whole actually it's kind of from girlfriend's perspective, because Kolchak is acting weird, Zuckerberg is acting weird, and she's kind of out of the loop, and you see things through her lens. So that, like, you're kind of, like, trying to catch up, like, okay, what's going on here? And you think everything's going to be revealed in time. And meanwhile, the boss gets a visit from this FBI guy, and they have this relationship, like, they're like, they used to date or something like that. It's like, hey, what's up, old flame? You know, like, you're still looking good after all these years, and blah, blah, blah. But then their relationship turns sour, because basically this whole this shooting thing that went down with the drug lords or whatever and the bikers is, like, the FBI wants to, like, control it, and they want to control all the press, and they're like, hey, like, he's saying to the boss, like, oh, I'll cut you a deal, you know, and hey, maybe we can go get some drinks, we can hit up those old, like, you know, those dirty movie theaters like we used to, where, you know, it's all guys in there and stuff like that. And boss is, like, cool with it at first, but then later he's not cool with it because the FBI guy tries to get too controlling. And then, oh my god, just, like, I keep saying, like, so much shit happens, I can't even remember it all. But basically, oh yeah, so it turns out Kolchak is chasing this DEA guy all around. His name is Victor. He's chasing Victor all around because Victor had the same experience as him, where he was on the road in a storm, I guess, and then the car got broken into and his wife got taken away. But actually, it turned out they faked all that shit, and his wife is in league with him, and she's just running around pretending to be dead, but he's secretly meeting her at hotels. And then the bikers show up, and it turns out they're ghosts, I guess. But it's funny because they're kind of like Terminators, and every single one of these bikers is like a grandpa biker. Like, they remind me of those bikers from South Park, you know? And, like, one of them looks like the guy that played Vercingetorix in the Roman Empire show. One of them looks like Steven Seagal, kind of. And then, you know, the other one looks like, I don't know, someone from Sons of Anarchy, I guess. I don't know, whatever. It's just funny. It's just, you have to just see it, okay? And they're supposed to be ghosts, as it turns out, but they give off more of a Terminator vibe because they all have sunglasses and they have these, like, shotguns and stuff, and, like, they're just marching around this hotel, like, shooting up everything, and this whole SWAT team is, like, oh my god, so many cops. They're just unloading, like, endless bullets into these guys, and they, you know, it's like Terminator, like, no bullets hit them. I mean, they hit them, but it's like they don't, you know. They don't get thrown backwards, nothing like that. It's like no effect. You know, they just stand there and they're just killing left and right, and they're just totally unaffected, you know. So that scene goes on and on and on, with all the glass being blown out and everything being shot up, and the music. And, like, and then the bikers leave, and then, Kolchak girlfriend and the wife of Victor go and hide out in, like, a remote Airbnb type of place, like a remote hotel, kind of like the mountain hotel from The Ring, and, like, that's all out of the way and stuff. And then they decide to leave the wife in this cabin all by herself, which I thought was kind of a bad idea. I thought they were all gonna have one cabin together so that they can all kind of, you know, have solidarity and unity. But no, then they use it as this opportunity for Kolchak and girlfriend to, like, work on their love life, basically. Because, like, whenever it's convenient for them, they always bitch at each other in that stupid quippy way that, you know, I can't stand, where they always complain that, like, oh, you don't trust me. Well, you don't trust me. You have trust issues. You have trust issues. You know, this stupid fucking married couple bullshit. And anyway, so she starts giving him that shit. She's like, oh, like, I want you to trust me. I want you to, you know, give me signs that you trust me, like, right here and right now and shit like that, because that's my love language or whatever. And he's like, ugh. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll give you a concession. So he decides to show her the little brand on his wrist, because previously he had said previously that he was looking for that mark on the victims of paranormal crimes, paranormal murders. But he didn't admit to the fact that he had it, and he said he was born with it. And then he was hoping that Victor had it. They said he didn't, but his whole arms from, like, elbow down were, like, covered in tattoos. So I kept saying, as I was watching, like, he had a lot of tattoos. Maybe it was covered up. But, you know, obviously these people in the TV show didn't listen to me. So, yeah, the bikers show up at the cabin. They shoot up everything once again. And then girlfriend and wife go out and they escape in the car. And Kolchak tells him, I'm just going to run into the woods and make the bikers chase me. Which is dumb. You'd think that they would ignore him and they would just go after wife because supposedly she's their target. But they all go after Kolchak, and then they all surround him and point their guns at him. But then, because they see the Illuminati mark on his wrist, they decide not to gang rape him. And they just leave. And probably go and get some beers or something like that, because they completely give up after that. And then the Korean lady was in love with Victor, but he got killed by the bike. Because I forgot to mention the bikers swung by the Korean convenience store that she was running. And he died. And also the Korean lady's other guy, who she was friend zoning, died. They both got killed by the bikers. So fucking both her guys died in one instance. So she was kind of fucked. But luckily for her, there was this, like, auntie type of figure. And she's like, well, I have a house by the sea. She's gonna move in with me. So that was nice, you know. Because, you know, Koreans gotta have Koreans' backs. And then, like, anyways, at the end, it turns out that wifey... Oh, and there was this one part where Kolchak got in a fight with the FBI dude, and their fight was so horribly edited. Like, I've heard the complaint of some movies where the fight scenes are chopped and edited in such a way to where you can't see anything, like it's too chaotic, and, like, that was this, because they obviously weren't really fighting. It was, like, it was just edited so, like, choppily, that it's just like, oh, hit, and then it's like, oh, you guys got in a fight, but it was, I don't know, whatever. It was like that. So, yeah, even though you got Kolchak punched an FBI officer at the workplace, he basically faced, like, no consequences for that. I wish I could punch some of the customers at my job. But honestly, with the way the worker shortage is right now in the service industry, I might actually be able to get away with that shit. But I'm not going to try it. Anyways, so what else happens? Yeah, boss man and FBI dude basically break up. And then Kolchak the whole time was getting messages on this phone. Like, he was getting sent over to this weird glass house with, like, multiple floors that he ran up to the top floor, and there would be a phone there in the middle of the room. And then he would get messages from, like, a ghostly voice, which I thought was the bikers, like, using their supernatural powers to, like, imitate other people's voices. Because they kill this other guy, but then they make him call on the phone. And then I thought when the wife was calling on the phone, I thought she was dead also, but she turned out to be alive. So that was like a red herring. I don't know, it was very complicated and they don't explain it. And then Kolchak tries to take girlfriend and Zuckerberg back to the glass house, and it's just not there. So it is either also something created by ghosts or in another dimension or some shit like that. They also never explain that. They don't explain shit. Things just happen, and you just have to accept it. So that's that episode. Oh, and then at the very, very end, I forgot to mention, the wife goes off to live with the two Korean ladies, and she's pregnant now, and her and the Korean lady, the one who is the main character, not the auntie, I guess they're gonna be lesbians now, and they're gonna raise this child together, and because both of them were told in dream form that they're gonna find peace through Victor, which they thought meant being with him, but it actually meant that they're gonna find peace through his death, because his death caused them to find each other and realize that they're lesbians and have this child together. So anyways, then after that little fucking saga, it goes back to more normal, like supernatural shit. So then the next episode after, I really feel like I'm forgetting one, but there was one episode where a girlfriend kept being harassed constantly. Like, she got harassed by this one dude who said that she had to sell her pussy to him for him to give her, like, some lead he had. And then there was another, like, in the same, like, not, like, 10 minutes later, there's this part where, like, Kolchak basically tries to sell her down the river to go on a date with the dude from the morgue, because he was giving the guy from the morgue tickets to give him special information. But then I guess the dude from the morgue said, what I want this time is a date with your girlfriend. So he got him tickets to the ballet because he knew that she liked it. But then he made the mistake of acting creepy and being like, she's like, oh, I didn't know you liked the ballet. I love the ballet. And instead of being smart and doing the right thing and being like, yeah, I love the ballet. Let's go. Let's have a good time, and acting friendly, which is what women want, generally. I mean, all women are not the same, but look, you're going to get more flies with honey with this tactic, okay? Like, just instead of acting friendly and being like, yeah, let's be buddies, and then trying to maybe skew something from there, he just came right out with it. He's just like, well, I hate ballet, but I just want to fuck you. And then, of course, she didn't go on the date with him, so that's good. This show is actually pretty cool when it comes to not being sexist. I mean, once in a while, somebody in the show is sexist, but that's not the same thing as the show being sexist. You know what I mean? The show is actually pretty fucking nice and even. Like, it doesn't make women victims all the time. In fact, in the next episode, which is this, like, Nosferatu episode, all the victims except for one are male. And then Kolchak at the end gets fucked up. So basically the deal is that, like, there's this Nosferatu going around. And at first, I think there was a red herring where it's kind of like this girl, and it makes you think the girl is a vampire. But then it turns out that her and this dude get attacked, because basically this Nosferatu guy is going around attacking people in office buildings. But this is what I mean by the show kind of taking a standard thing and, like, twisting it a little bit to make it a little bit more unique, which is a plus. Like, instead of him just being a regular ass vampire like they had in the real Kolchak show, the real Night Stalker show from back in the day, this vampire is like, he doesn't just drink blood, he, like, sucks all the fluid out of your body and causes you to be like a mummy. So, like, first I thought it was like a rapid aging thing, but he actually, like, super dehydrates you. Like, and then he does it with he doesn't suck people's blood. Like, first they said something about abrasions on the neck, and I thought that was like a vampire bite type of situation. But it turns out that he actually uses his hands. He puts his hands on people's neck like he's strangling them, but he has this, like, goo, this acid goo that comes out of his palms, I guess. They never explain it. Once again, they never fucking explain this shit. But he has this acid goo that comes out of his palms, and when he touches you, it, I guess, dissolves your skin and then also causes all the fluid in your body to be transferred to him. So this is like the ultimate fear of that guy from Dr. Strangelove, basically, you know, like our precious bodily fluids and all that. This is the type of shit he was worrying about. So basically, then in the end, it turns out that the reason why this guy is doing this shit is not because he's just a vampire of some sort. It's because he's actually like a superhero style mutant, where he worked in a chlorine factory and he was fucked over because the chlorine factory had a gas leak that he breathed, and it destroyed him, and it caused him to need constant rehydration, which he gets from doing what I just said. So he's like an X-Men, I guess, or whatever. And then at the end, he fucks up Kolchak, and then girlfriend comes to his rescue, and Kolchak like passes out against her titties, and she's like cuddling him, and it's actually really, really cute. And yeah, but except for the girl in the very beginning who I thought was a vampire, but it wasn't. All the victims are male, so that was cool. Because it's like, you know, it's just like sometimes I feel like shows are like, oh yeah, okay, you want more female representation, we'll put more females in the show, but then they put extra females in the show just to be victims. So I don't know, I just always like it when there's male victims, because like there's always gonna be tons and tons and tons of female victims to go around. That's not really diminishing. So I just like male victims because they kind of even the playing field a little bit. And plus, I'm heterosexual, so like I just like to see men suffer because it's cute. Anyways, so then the next episode after that is like a youth stealer, whatever you would call it. Kind of another vampire, I guess, but not really. Like, I don't know if you would call her a witch or what you would call her as, but it's also similar to the old show where somebody's like prolonging their youth by like, you know, taking the youth from others, which is like obviously a common like thing in like these supernatural shows. Like Tales from the Crypt did it, and I think maybe So Weird had an episode like that. But anyways, whatever. The point is that there's this lady, and she's like 100 years old or some shit. And every 35 years, she goes and she kills 3 people. Oh, you know what? I think they did get this from, because isn't that the plot of The Night Strangler, like the second Kolchak movie? Is that, or was that the first? I don't remember. One of them, the one that was in the Seattle underground city. Isn't that the plot of that? Is that every some amount of years, the killer kills 3 people and makes them into a youth potion so he can keep living? Anyways, it's the same shit here. This lady, she's like 100 or something. I think they said 115 or something like that. Every 35 years, they say she goes out and she kills 3 beautiful young women and takes their beauty and their youth and everything like that by eating their pituitary gland out of their face while they're paralyzed with drugs. And that's the whole thing. But the best part of this episode, and then girlfriend is the victim at the end of this, but I feel like it's even because Kolchak got it in the previous episode, so now it's her turn. Like, I felt like it was fair, you know. But anyways, the best part of this episode was that the 100-year-old lady or whatever has a son who works at the morgue with the other morgue guy, like the regular morgue dude whose name I don't remember, but I feel like I've seen him in other things too. But there's this new morgue guy. They say he's actually like the manager, the boss or something, the supervisor. But he's like this blonde guy with these big giant watery eyes, and he's like the best thing about this episode because, like I said, I'm not a connoisseur of acting. Oh my god, I'm almost about to hit an hour, of course. I'm not a connoisseur of acting, like I've said before. I can't tell you, if I go around starting to say, I think this is what's good and what's bad, like, movie connoisseurs who know what they're talking about will just laugh in my fucking face and tell me how dumb I am and how I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. But this is my opinion, okay? Like, the dude was selling it. He was selling the story of, like, his anguish and his despair and the panic and fear of, like, slowly realizing that his mom is, like, this, like, murderer and all the shit she's done, and how just, like, the way he was like, I just felt his character. Like, he sold it so good that just, like, the despair and, like, how he's, like, looking for a way out, like, how much he loves his mom, and he just wants to, like, hold her and, like, hug her forever because he just wants to spend, like, just any extra time he can get with her is, like, a blessing, but at the same time he's scared of her, but he's also scared of losing her, and then he's realizing, like, all these horrible things that are coming to light around him, and he's just, like, pressure is coming in from all sides, and he's just, like, I don't know, the way he was acting, like, the fear and the panic, and, like, like I said, just, like, the desperation that he was selling, like, I bought it, man. Like, he was, like, definitely the best actor in this, like, because he actually made me, like, feel for him, you know, like, just, like, this, like, no way out, like, way that he was acting. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that's all the episodes. I still feel like I forgot one. I feel like I talked about 8 and not 9. But yeah, anyways, the next one, the last one, I think, the last one, number 10, is called What's the Frequency, Kolchak? So I'm guessing that's going to have something to do with radio waves talking to people and some type of schizophrenia looking situation, but that actually turns out to be paranormal, and people being made to kill by electro waves or voices from beyond transferring through machines or some shit to that matter, you know. Yeah. And overall, the soundtrack in this show is pretty good. I love all the early 2000s, like, music that they use. Yeah, check it out. It's terrible, but it's good in its own little trash way. You know I love some trash. So the only problem is you don't have anyone when you don't have anyone to share it with. So yeah, that's the end.